You know that feeling, right? That knot in your stomach when you look at the market and it's just a sea of red. Every single investor has been there, asking that one huge question. Is this the time to buy the dip, or am I about to catch a falling knife? Well, today, we're going to unpack a framework that gives you a real disciplined answer.
So, just picture it. Your phone is buzzing with alerts, your portfolio is taking a nosedive, and everyone around you is panicking. Your gut might be screaming, "Sell, get out now." Or maybe, just maybe, a little voice is whispering, "This is the big one, the buying opportunity of a lifetime." But how do you actually know? In that moment of pure chaos, what's the right move?
Well, here's the first big mindset shift we need to make. The answer has nothing to do with some magic ability to call the absolute bottom. Forget about timing the market. It's a fool's errand. The real answer? It's all about the homework you do beforehand. Okay, so what is this homework? We're going to dive into a framework from the valuation expert Damodaran. He calls it opportunistic contrarianism. And you can really just think of it as a roadmap, a guide, to help you act rationally when everyone else is being driven by fear. So what is it, really? At its heart, it's a strategy that lets you buy truly great companies, right when they get caught up in a market-wide panic. See, in a crash, investors sell everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. This strategy is all about having the discipline to pick up those amazing businesses that have been thrown out with the bathwater. Now, this whole idea only works if you accept one fundamental truth. Price and value are two totally different things. Price is what you see on the screen, and you know what? It's often driven by raw emotion. Fear one day, greed the next. Value, on the other hand, is what a company is actually worth, based on its real business fundamentals. And in a crisis, that gap between the emotional price and the rational value can become a giant chasm. Your job is to jump in and exploit that gap. All right, so this all sounds good in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? Well, this isn't just some vague philosophy. It's a concrete four-step playbook that takes you all the way from preparing in calm markets to taking action when the storm hits. And here they are, the 4 steps we're about to break down. First, peacetime homework. Second, the crisis trigger. Third, crisis revaluation. And finally, number 4, disciplined action. Let's get into it. Step 1. And honestly, this might be the most crucial part of the entire process. It's the work you do when the sun is shining and the market is calm. This is when you build your wish list. So here's how you do it. You find these incredible companies, the ones with rock-solid fundamentals and great growth prospects. You do a full deep dive valuation on them, maybe a discounted cash flow model, and you come to a simple conclusion. Wow, great company, but it's way too expensive right now. The price is much higher than the value you calculated. So you put that company on your wish list, and then you just wait. Okay, now fast forward. The crisis hits. The market is in a free fall, and suddenly those stocks on your wish list are getting hammered. This is the moment of truth. And listen, this is so important. That price drop is not your signal to buy. Not yet. I love this quote because it says it all. The crash isn't the green light. It's the alarm bell. It's the market telling you, hey, time to pull out that homework you did and get back to work. It's your trigger to reevaluate. And this, my friends, is where the real work and the real discipline kicks in. Right in the middle of the panic, when your emotions are screaming at you, you have to sit down and do the math all over again. You have to revalue that company based on this new chaotic reality. This slide right here shows the single biggest mistake investors make. The trap is to look at the new, lower price and compare it to your old valuation from before the crisis. That is a fatal error. You have to redo the valuation from scratch, factoring in how the crisis itself has changed the company's future. And here's exactly why that's so important. A crisis fundamentally changes the numbers. First, there's probably a recession coming, which means the company's future revenues and cash flows are going to be lower. You have to adjust those down. At the same time, fear is everywhere. So the risk premium, the extra return investors demand to hold stocks, goes up. And look what happens when you combine those two things. The company's actual calculated value decreases. It is objectively worth less today than it was before the crisis began. So you've done the peacetime prep, you've done the hard work of revaluing in the middle of the storm. So when do you actually pull the trigger? What's the real buy signal we're looking for? Here it is.
It's that simple and that powerful. The buy signal triggers only when the market price, in its panic, finally drops below your new, carefully calculated, crisis-adjusted value. That's it. That's the moment. Price is finally less than your new lower value. That's how you take the emotion out of it. You know, this whole process is really just a much smarter, much more robust way of thinking about a classic investing idea, the margin of safety. But it requires a pretty big shift in how most people think about it. See, the common way, let's call it the lazy way, to think about a margin of safety is just to take your valuation and lop off a random percentage. You know, the stock is worth $100, so I'll buy it at 80. It's just an arbitrary 20% buffer you tack on at the end. But Damodaran just rips this idea apart. He says it's a myth. For one, it's not a substitute for a good valuation. If your initial valuation is garbage, a 20% discount on garbage is, well, it's still garbage. It also shouldn't be a fixed number for every company. And if you are already being conservative with your numbers, just slapping on another buffer is like wearing a belt and suspenders. You're just double counting your conservatism. And this right here is the absolute key difference. In the lazy way, the margin of safety is an input. It's a guess you make before you even start. But in the Damodaran way, the margin of safety is an output. It's the gap between price and your new value that is revealed to you by all your hard work. You don't create it, you discover it. Okay, let's wrap all of this up. We've looked at the philosophy, we've walked through the 4 steps, we've shifted our mindset. So let's go back and answer that very first question. When do you buy the dip? The answer isn't a date on the calendar. It isn't after a 30% drop. You buy when a set of conditions are met. You buy when you have a clear philosophy, separating price from value, when you have a disciplined strategy ready to go, when you've done the hard homework of revaluing the business in the crisis, and when the market price finally drops below that new lower value you calculated. So if we could boil this entire thing down to just one idea, what is the ultimate, definitive, blinking red light that says go? And there it is. The ultimate buy signal isn't on TV. It isn't in a headline. It's in your spreadsheet. The signal comes when your own rigorous, independent work proves that the price the market is offering in its panic is a bargain compared to what the company is truly worth. The real signal doesn't come from the market, it comes from your homework.